What's the difference between MAC and Maybelline or any brand you are obsessed with? It's not the ingredients, it's the customer. Both brands are widely successful, but their branding, positioning, even where they're sold, are completely different. And here's the part that nobody tells you. Big brands don't build by accident. They don't guess, they don't rely on trial and error. They use strategy, they use data, and they use precision. And if you don't know your numbers, you truly don't know your customer. Welcome to Build an Obsession Brand, the podcast where we break down the science behind brand building so you can compete with the big brands and turn your beloved product into a household name. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Build an Obsession Brand podcast, the podcast where we unpack what it really takes to build the next generation of great breakout brands. I'm your host, Maureen, and today I'm sitting down with somebody who deeply understands what it means to disrupt without a big budget, without a fancy Rolodex, and without waiting for permission. Gloria Chou is an award-winning PR coach and the creator of the CPR pitching method, a framework that's helped over 10,000 small businesses land top-tier media without ads or agencies. She's a former US diplomat turned powerhouse media strategist, and today she's on a mission to help brands like yours, challenger brands, get seen, get heard, and disrupt your category. If you've ever wondered how to build an undeniable authority and create buzz from scratch, this conversation is for you. Let's get into it. Hey, brand builders, welcome to yet another episode on Build an Obsession Brand podcast. Today we have an amazing guest expert, Gloria Chou. She is a renowned PR expert strategist. I am not going to talk too much. Like in this episode, I don't talk much. I let my experts talk here. And let's get into the show. Welcome to the show, Gloria. Thank you so much for saying yes. And I'm so excited to talk about PR for challenger brands, how to disrupt the industry with earned media. I have been in the big brand space, so I do know the power of earned media for small and emerging brands. So tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you started off from diplomacy, and now how did you get here? I love to hear what people have experienced and gone through.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm really your untraditional PR gal. So I've actually never worked a day in my life in any agency, PR or marketing. And I actually had to Google the newsroom operator number and pick up the phone instead of cold calling the operator at the New York Times. And so it was through getting rejected thousands and thousands of times because I had no journalist contacts. I started to crack a code on, okay, how can an outsider get featured? How can we get on a journalist radar if they don't know us or if we have a tiny following? So I'm really excited for today's episode because I think that for the longest time, PR has not been made accessible. It's very gatekept by the industry that demand a lot of money, right, per month, and they loop you in usually for a 6-month minimum. So of course, for most founders, it doesn't seem like the ROI is there. So we're going to talk about, how we can take this in-house, how we can make it accessible, and how you just can know what journalists are writing about so you don't have to pay big agency fees, but still get featured organically in all of the top places.
Why is PR gate kept? Why do people gatekeep this?
I think it's like the Mad Men style, like just the legacy of the agency status, right? It's like, I know my buddies and I'm just going to call them. But here's the thing, right? Like if you keep paying them, they own the relationships. And so you never have transparency into who those journalists are. You're not building your own relationships. And the moment you stop paying them, then they leave and you kind of have to start at ground zero. So I really think that for founders, knowing how to pitch relevant stories, knowing what the media wants, that's probably one of the most highest skills that we can all have as CEOs, because it's about knowing how to be invited to the table and knowing how to advocate for yourself. And let's be honest, no one knows your story like you do. Like no one's going to care about it as much as you do. And so a lot of the agencies, unless you're one of their top clients paying them 20 or 30 grand a month, you kind of get what's left over. And so, and I don't think that that's necessarily fair, especially if you're on a tight budget. We know now with tariffs and everything, products are stretched so thin. And so a lot of product makers are like, well, I just can't get PR, so I'm not going to get seen. And I think that's unfair. I think there's so many founders that deserve to be seen, especially disruptive brands. And so why not us, right? So we're going to talk about how you can actually tell the journalists what they want, get featured, and build your own relationships and bring the system in-house.
Tell me what they want to hear, because I've also tried to get into PR and everybody says you need to have a story. What story are they asking for? Like, what storytelling should we be thinking about as founders?
Yeah, I think that this is not really taught to us, right? No one's ever, again, made this education accessible. And what I realized from being an outsider and just cold calling, I realized that PR people, like journalists don't actually want to talk to PR people. They want to talk to you, the founder. So let's just cut out the middlemen, or they want to talk to you. So what is PR? At its core, PR is two things: getting organic features. I'm not talking about the scammy pay to play. I'm talking about getting actually like on a gift guide or a feature where you're not paying the journalist. So what does it entail? It's really two things. It's writing a relevant pitch and sending it to the right person. And if you can put the two and two together, you can create a system in your business so that you are constantly getting featured. So notice how I said relevant pitch. I didn't say good pitch or newsworthy,
Yes.
because there's no such thing as a newsworthy company or thing. I mean, people have, toilet paper companies and they get featured. So it's really about relevancy. And I think for a lot of founders, we talk in terms of benefits, in terms of features. We're so good at marketing our product, but the journalist is never going to buy from you. So we need to take off the marketing hat and communicate in a different way.
And for a product, let's say it's a beauty product that sells, it's a hair care line positioned to help your hair grow differently. What story would I tell so that it's relevant to the person that would be responsible for that article?
Perfect. So we have a lot of hair care brands. Now let's go back to the relevant pitch, right? When I think about relevancy, you might think about the seasons, the holidays, what's trending. So right now at the time of recording, it's spring and summer and humidity is in the air. There's a lot of pollution, right? So think about what are the products for people who are facing these type of problems this season. Also think about what types of ingredients and scents. So I'm probably not going to market something that's like really rich and dense or something hot chocolate in the summertime. I'm probably going to promote something that's light and citrusy, and also think about not just relevancy in terms of the weather and in terms of the holidays, but what's happening in society. What are some of the trends? Are there any new movies or series that, people have really cool hair, right? So for example, White Lotus on HBO was really popular. And so for the whole summer, everyone was going to Italy. And so there's a lot of pitches around how to get the best essentials for your Italian vacation, right? Another thing was that Taylor Swift had her tour. And so there was a lot of like girl power, a lot of pink, a lot of rhinestones. If you're in bridal, Sophia Richie's wedding went viral. So she kind of defined that season of like modern minimalism for brides and that slick back hair. So that's what I mean by relevance. It could be pop culture. It could be a seasonal thing. It could be what's trending. So those are all the ways that you can infuse a relevancy in your pitch. And then that sets up your pitch really well, because then you can then go on to talk about why your product is perfect for that relevancy.
We talk about this a lot with founders, but the question they ask me is, what platforms should I be using? Of course, there are mainstream platforms like, I think they rebranded. Was it Net Reporter or something like that, where you would be connected with journalists? Like, where do people get started with this if you're not going to use an agency?
So how do you write a pitch if you've never met the journalist? So I came up with my CPR pitching framework, which stands for credibility, point of view, and relevance. And it's really the anatomy of how do you communicate to a journalist, get their attention quickly so that they can be like, tell me more. So let's start with the subject line. I'm going to give a little masterclass now. So the subject line of the email to the journalist should never include your name, the word product, your brand, or the word pitch, because it's really not useful for the journalist. They don't know you. What you want to do instead is to really tell them specifically what the story is about. For example, a great subject line is samples available, 3 vegan hair care products for frizzy hair under $25. Do you see how specific that is? It's almost like I can click on that article, right? And then once you start the email, you want to start not with how's the weather or how you're doing. You want to get it right into the R in CPR, which is relevant. So you can say something like, as we get into frizzy, humid, hot summer season, I know that your readers are looking for hair care that doesn't weigh down, that's light, that can help maintain style even after the pool. Like, you see how I am injecting the relevance, right? And then you can say, that's why our summer hair care bundle is perfect because, and then the point of view in CPR are the 3 bullet points. So 1, 2, 3, and then you conclude with maybe 1 or 2 sentences about credibility, about if you are like eco certified, or if you're non-toxic certified, or if you've gotten featured, if you have an award. Don't go crazy here. This is like 1 or 2 sentences. And then you always want to put in the price point, the link where they can get it. For example, is it available at Target, or is it only available on your website? Shipping, is it shipping to US, Canada? Where is it, right? And then we want to know if you're able to send samples, and if you have any affiliate links. So if you do have an affiliate link, or if you're willing to send samples, put that in there. And I would put up to 3 low-res photos, because they want to see that it's a giftable product, or that it has good packaging. They don't care about your Instagram followers, but if it's a visual product, they want to see some photos, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's it. And then with a hyperlink to find out more. What you don't want to do is attach anything that's going to trigger their spam filter, right? And so that CPR method with the subject line and all the kind of things, that is really the anatomy of a golden pitch. It's what the journalist needs to decide, yes, this is a fit or not. Because you've already given them everything, right? So they don't need kind of a back and forth interview. You have the price point. So let's say you have the credibility point, you have the CPR pitch. Now, who do you send it to? That's a great question. It's not going to be the editor at Vogue. It's not going to be info at BuzzFeed, right? It's going to be the specific writer who's writing about products. And usually that person is the commerce or shopping editor or writer. So you want to look for people with that word in their bio: commerce, shopping. These are the writers that are in the position to recommend products for their audience, right? And so if you want to be in like a roundup of like 10 best beauty oils of 2025, one of our founders got into L for that, right? You want to contact the commerce editor, but you can also simultaneously contact the beauty writer as well. So it would be that. So make sure you're very specific. Now, the next question is, well, how do I find the contact information?
Is that database? Is it LinkedIn? Is it cold pitch? Let's go.
Yes. So obviously, in my program, we have an updated database across 125 categories, but you can start by using these 4 free tools to come up with your own media list for your niche. The first one is perplexity.ai. It's a free tool. You can simply type in, I make, a skin serum for melanated skin. What are the, magazines that cover beauty and skin product roundups and gift guide? Boom, it's going to give you an answer. And then you can kind of ask it more questions. Who's a commerce editor? Who's a beauty writer at Cosmo? And it's going to tell you that. And then you can start to kind of populate it. So that's one, is using Perplexity AI. Number 2 is I want you to install a Google News Alert, which is free. So you type in the search bar, Google News Alert. It's going to give you all the articles that's being published on your niche. And it's as easy as copying the name and their email. It's usually public information, and putting it in an ever expanding Excel spreadsheet, right? That's number 2. Number 3 is sign up for things like sourceofsources.com or haro.com, which is help a reporter out. These are websites that gather inquiries from journalists looking to interview people on short notice. And so you might get you might scan it, and the journalist might be like, I am looking to interview hair care experts. Boom. They give you their email and you just respond. So that's number 3, right? These are all really great. The 4th one, and a really popular one, I just did a training on this in my PR program, is Substack. So Substack is a blogging platform. There are so many freelance beauty writers writing about what stories are being assigned for that week. And a lot of these are freelance writers. So then they might say, for Pop Sugar, I am rounding up XYZ. If you fit this, here's my email. Boom. I had someone get into Forbes the other day just from following a journalist on Substack. So those are the 4 really, really great ways that you could start to know what journalists are writing about. You can start to reply to them, and you can start to make your own database.
Oh my goodness. We're going to put all those links down below the show notes. I thank you for sharing that. Very few people would give you exactly where to go and what to do. So I appreciate you doing that. Now, the other thing I was going to ask you is, besides getting a mention, besides getting featured, how do you measure success? Like, how do you measure that you're getting a return on investment by doing this? Because it's an investment. It's time consuming to find these people, to pitch, to write an article. Like, how do you measure success with this?
Well, I will say that out of everything, PR is the only thing that's giving you SEO, whereas ads and social media doesn't, right? Your social media can be banned, hacked, restricted at any time. And we know that the algorithm simply isn't showing our content to anyone anymore. So if I'm thinking about what is the most leveraged activity I can do for myself, I would rather get a PR feature that can get in front of tens of thousands of people and then repurpose that into an Instagram post than the other way around. But you can measure it in many different ways. So now we know that with AI, anyone can write blog posts. So I can churn out 60 blog posts in the next 5 minutes. So Google is actually prioritizing backlinks from reputable sources. So if you get into like a Pop Sugar or a Refinery or Forbes, that is a sign to Google that your domain authority is very high compared to the number of blog posts. So we know from an SEO point of view that those backlinks are absolutely critical for you to maintain your searchability more than anything, right? So that's how you can measure it, is like in Google Analytics, you should be able to see as you get more PR features, your domain score going up. So like, for example, for me, I've never hired an SEO person ever, but my domain score or rank is actually pretty high just based off of all the podcast interviews that I've done, which is also PR.
Yes.
So that's really helped me. So it just shows that it's like constantly working for you. Another way is that a lot of these magazines now are asking for an affiliate link. So if you have an affiliate link, and if they feature you in like, let's say like a Vogue or a Marie Claire, and you can track exactly how many they're selling, because then the affiliate commission, you'll be able to track that. So that's another way that you can track the ROI of that. And it's just a way smarter way to use your time than spending hours and hours on social media, I think, because you don't own your social media.
On average, how many features should a brand be aiming for per month, per quarter, per year? Like, how often should they be doing this?
Yeah, I think they should incorporate this as a system in their marketing. It's not one other thing to add to the plate, but it really should be the foundation of everything, because we know that with beauty brands, it's so saturated. The number one way that you can stand out and compete with a reputable brand is build your reputation with PR, because that's what any consumer is looking for. Is this brand legitimate? Is this brand credible? And there's no other way to say that other than, oh, it was recommended on Vogue or recommended on Marie Claire, right? So I think there's no better, higher leverage. And again, with the SEO, and there's so many ways you can repurpose it, right? You can put it in a newsletter, you can put it on your LinkedIn footer, you can put an email footer, you can turn it into so many ways to repurpose it, definitely for the long haul. And empirical research actually shows that companies that do over 500K to $1 million in revenue really prioritize omni-channel visibility strategies, and the ones that kind of stay stuck around 50K to 100K in revenue only rely on flea markets and Instagram.
And so this brings up a very good topic, because the social channels are just being a big thing in the industry. People want to invest a lot of money in paid ads, in TikToks, Snapchat, you name it. How should founders rethink their PR strategy in order to stay ahead without getting lost in the trends?
If you have a lot of money to burn, sure, throw it into ads, but just know that that's not sustainable, because once you stop throwing money, it's going to go away, right? So I don't think I think there's room for all of them, but I think historically there has not been enough time and attention allocated to PR, which is actually sustainably going to give you more return in the long run, because again, it's been very gate kept. And so I want to challenge your viewers to think, well, there actually is a third way. You actually absolutely can invest in PR in an accessible way, which I've already taught you here. And so it's just about reallocating some of those resources. And it's a really good insurance policy, because what if TikTok gets banned, or what if that influencer has a scandal, right? Then so I just think for all those reasons, PR is just the best insurance to safeguard your brand and also protect your IP. Because if you are in an article saying that you are the first to do this kind of formulation, the other competitor can't go and say that they've done this first, because you already have been quoted in a magazine saying that you're the first.
And now that I listen to you sharing this, I'm also thinking about it from a founder perspective. A lot of them have team members. So this could be something that your team member could do. Go to the websites that you've mentioned, start finding the writers, start drafting articles. And then that way you're also getting a return on investment on the team person that you've hired to help you with social media.
Yes, exactly. And you can delegate this. We teach this in our program, but you can very easily delegate this to an intern or assistant. Just give them the access to a team at or a media at email address, and then just send all of your pitches through that email. Install an email tracking software so you know who's opening it. And that way your intern or assistant can kind of update you on who's opening and how to do the follow-up. So it's absolutely doable.
Share about your program, because I know a lot of people will listen and be like, I want to listen to this, follow you up to learn a lot more. Talk about your program. What does it look like? How is it structured?
Yeah.
How can people invest? Do this.
Yeah. So I always say that my program is PR for the people, because again, PR has not been made accessible, but most of my people are female founders of color. So I really believe it's time for the rest of us to be seen. And honestly, this work goes beyond just logos and publicity, because, as a 5-foot-tall daughter of a widowed immigrant, I didn't always see myself in media. And I think if we don't feel safe to show up, or if we don't necessarily see ourselves in media, then we can't make it more inclusive. So this is absolutely sacred work. It's generational work. We are rewriting the narrative of how we show up and how we advocate for ourselves. And it's just about creating a safe space for people to really feel confident, because I can give you all the PR strategies, but if you don't feel safe being seen, or if you are told not to promote yourself, which, I was told growing up, then you're just not going to do it. So again, it goes so much deeper than just strategies and tips. My program is the PR program is the only PR program for product owners where I give you access to the top 1% of journalists. So how do we do that? We give you a database, of course, that's updated across 125 categories with full information, but I also bring in journalists from Good Morning America, from Refinery, from BuzzFeed, from all these places who love covering diverse founders, who love featuring indie brands. Last time we had BuzzFeed come in and she featured 4 of our founders, so I actually bring them in. They coach you. They actually tell you, here's what my inbox looks like. Here's what I'm covering. Here's my email. And then I also walk you through, like, here's what I think you should pitch this season. And I am scouring the internet again from Haro, from Perplexity, from Substack, and I'm curating a daily thread, a PR thread of all the opportunities. And it's just really comprehensive, and there's no other program like it. Just to give access for the small businesses out there. It's really kind of a mission for me.
You said something that I want to dig into. You said you're rewriting narratives. What narrative are you rewriting?
So the narrative that you have to be in a place of privilege, or you have to know someone to get featured, right? For people living on the margins and women of color, we don't come from generational wealth. So the idea that you have to pay someone to get featured, it doesn't sit right with me. We own our stories. And so why do I have to pay someone with connections? It just seems very kind of privileged to me. So, we hold the key to our own power. We hold the key to our own story, and journalists want to hear from us. Journalists need us to churn out their stories. There are so many stories being churned out 24 hours a day. And if it's not going to be you, it's going to be someone else. So I always say, pitch yourself, put your name in the hat. Why not you?
So pitch yourself and not always your product, because sometimes I guess we're speaking to humans and a lot of people will want to hear your story first and then see your product after, right?
Well, your product is your story. So you can totally pitch your product. And when people find out about your product and why you made it, your story naturally will come out.
I think for me, it's like I hear things of, my story is not good enough. What makes you think my story is good enough? How do you combat that? Or do you think every story is good enough?
Yeah, I always say we need a pitch with the confidence of a mediocre white man. Like there's just like a lot of times it's just like the loudest people in the room, and we need to rewrite that. For a lot of product founders, a lot of your disruptive brands, they went against the odds. They probably went against what their parents said and gave up a very comfortable life to be able to start this brand. And so there's so much power in that's just beyond, I want to make as much money as possible. And so that's amazing. We have so many mission and values aligned founders. I promise you, it's your story already is going to resonate with someone somewhere out there. It's just your job to get it in front of them. Someone out there needs to hear your story right now in its unpolished, in its incomplete form.
Do you help people with uncovering their stories?
Yeah. So part of what this PR work is finding out what is the relevant angle and how do we position that in a way that the journalist is going to be like, tell me more, right?
Okay.
And that could be for a gift guide. It could be for a podcast. It could be for a founder's feature. But depending on what bucket of PR, there's definitely an approach to that. So, I think at any given point, if you have a product, you simultaneously have the product-based pitch, which is, for the gift guides. But then you also have your founder story, which is amazing. Yes. And so you can pitch both those things.
Okay, perfect. That's fantastic. I have been in a space where I've just been working on challenger brands, and I do know the power of earned media, because you don't have the big budget to run paid ads. You don't have the big budget to compete with the big boys, but earned media goes a very, very long way. So I have this question that I'd like to ask everybody. If your brand were to outlive you, what message would you be saying right now?
I think my whole brand is around creating a safe space for people living on the margins to feel seen. Because we cannot do our most important work if we don't feel safe showing up, if we don't feel safe promoting our business. And so how do we create that safe space for people to really just unapologetically and boldly go after it? That's really the ethos of my brand.
How did you create that space for yourself?
I think that me as someone who, again, living on the margins, right? Like, I don't see myself in media. When I used to be a U.S. diplomat, I didn't see someone that looked like me as well. And some people ask me if I speak English. And I think living at the intersection of all these places, and I also lived with a Black family growing up, my best friend's family took me in during high school. I think living at all these intersections where I wasn't like, the obvious, status quo has made me realize like, okay, well, maybe I don't fit in anywhere, but it also, that's my strength because it allows me to fit in everywhere. And so I naturally have just created a very diverse life. If you look at my friend group, if you look at the people in my program, it's like 90% women of color. Is probably one of the most diverse spaces online. And when people ask me, these are coaches with huge followings, and they're like, I really love diversity. I really want to attract more, but they don't buy from me. And I always say, you don't attract diversity, you become diversity.
Become diversity. Yeah.
So it's either you and your subconscious choices with the content you consume and the stories that you get proximate to, or you don't. It's not something you attract, and I just think I just embody that because I'm naturally very curious, and I've had a life that's very different from most people. I've moved like 20 times as a kid. I didn't grow up with a mom and a dad, so I had a very untraditional upbringing.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing your story. Where can people find you and learn more about you?
So I have a free masterclass that I encourage everyone to watch. I had people actually DM me and say they got featured right away after watching it. It's I show you the screenshot of its CPR pitch in action. You can watch it for free at gloriachoupr.com/masterclass. That's Gloria CHOUPR.com/masterclass. I'm also on Instagram. I share a lot about my healing journey with my mom, healing generational trauma. And you can DM me at Gloria Chou PR. If you DM me the word Maureen, I will give you another resource so that you can get going on your CPR pitch.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Gloria, for joining. Thank you for sharing your story. I actually like the stories a lot more than the tidbits because I just love falling in love with people. I usually say like brands, they're human beings, and in order for them to sell, you have to create a connection. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Gloria, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. If you're listening and you're feeling fired up about getting your brand into bigger rooms without playing by the old rules, I hope today's conversation showed you just how possible it is. And for everyone that is tuning in, remember, building an obsession brand isn't about being the loudest, it's about being unforgettable.
That's a wrap on Build an Obsession Brand. If you're relying on passion alone to grow your brand, you're flying blind because real success takes strategy. If today's episode hit home, share it with another brand builder who needs to hear this. My mission? Helping emerging brands get the right recipe for success. Let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me on Instagram at Maureen Mwangi Official. Until next time, build with precision because big brands aren't built by accident.